That's the victory that we have through Jesus Christ. Now, when does that become ours? When does that kind of power, that kind of authority, I said it in the beginning, I read that passage about sovereignty and power and greatness and kingdoms are given to us. When? When we're in heaven? Absolutely. Before that? Absolutely. Now I'm going to tell you about the 1,000 years in Revelation, okay? Well, one of my seminary professors would always say, this verse, the 1,000 years in Revelation, he said, is the most mishandled verse in the entire Bible. And I'm going to unravel it for you in 4 minutes. It doesn't take a whole lot. It doesn't take grand Bible knowledge. You don't have to know Greek. You don't have to know Hebrew. You don't have to be as smart and intelligent and wise as I am. It's very simple. I mean, that's why I understand it. And all it is looking in Revelation and being a faithful Bible student and just paying attention and not putting your own spin on it. But there are dozens of interpretations of this 1,000 years, and there don't need to be. We just look at it very simply and very clearly. The Bible is simple and clear if we allow it to be that way. So let's do that. Okay, here we go. So the 1,000 years. First of all, this is the biggest part. This scene, as almost all scenes in Revelation, is symbolic. It's figurative language, much like an extended parable that Jesus would tell. When Jesus says he's the vine, it doesn't mean he's green and has leaves. Right? He's representing a reality to us. He's giving us a picture to look at. Revelation is a picture. God's giving John a vision. And the two most important words in Revelation is when John, at the beginning of these visions, says, I saw. All John is doing is reporting what he sees. So he's seeing, what's he seeing? He's seeing a chain. Can a chain hold the devil? Can a real iron chain, a real metal chain, hold the devil back? No. The devil is a spirit being. A physical chain cannot hold the devil. We're not talking about physical things here. We're talking about expressions of spiritual things. So there's no real chain that Jesus carries. There's no real key. And you see, Jesus says, I hold the key. He's meaning, I have the power and authority to lock up Satan. There's no real abyss that's a physical place. It wouldn't hold the devil. He's a spirit being. He could walk through the walls just like Jesus did after he rose from the dead. He's a spirit being. He can get from China to here like that. So it's not physical, literal language. So in this whole context, it's figurative language. It's symbolic. Key, abyss, chain. They're just word pictures. We can't, and this is where people trip up on this. You might say, yeah, that's all symbolic, but now 1,000 years is literal. Well, that's not good Bible study, because there's inconsistency there. If this is a symbolic scene, then everything in the scene is symbolic. It's representing realities. There are realities, but they're not the physical scene. And so, when the Bible says here 1,000 years, it says it numerous times in these 6 verses. We can't just suddenly shift and say, that's a literal 1,000-year period. So what is it? We do know from this scene that it's a time when the devil's power is significantly diminished by Jesus, who has the chain, who locks him up. The devil's power is significantly diminished during this 1,000-year period. And at the end, it says he's going to be set free for just a short time. So Jesus is going to loosen the leash just a little bit. He's not going to let go, but he's going to loosen the leash. And Satan will, at that end of that period, have a little more freedom than he has now. So here, let me tell you what this is. The 1,000 years is the New Testament era of the church. 1,000 years is right now. The 1,000 years is the time period between Jesus arriving here on this earth to do his saving work by his birth, life, death, resurrection. Between them, that's the beginning of the New Testament era. And so there's first coming, the time span between that, and his second coming, when he returns on Judgment Day. That's the 1,000 years. And exactly the amount of time that it is, well, it's been over 1,000 years, actually. It's not a literal time period. Why 1,000? Why not some other number? When the Bible uses the number 10, just like if you're an Olympic judge or judging a show like Dancing with the Stars, right? 10 means totally awesome, can't get any better, complete. So 10 means complete, a complete amount of time. 10 just means completeness. Nothing is missing. So then God says, this is not 10 years, that would be complete. This is not 10 times 10 years, that would be 100 years. That would mean like, whoa, this is like for sure complete. This is 10 times 10 times 10 years. God is saying it's a totally complete amount of time that I have control over this period of time. No one tells me when it begins. No one tells me when it ends. Jesus has complete control over that amount of time. We don't have to worry. He's presiding over our world today and over the end of time. The devil tripped up Jesus, but Jesus traps the devil. And Jesus is in charge of this period. Nobody else is. That's the 1,000 years.